look who I found to put in our terrarium. This is a slug. Ew. A slug will go nicely in our terrarium. Here he is moving around. See his antenna? He's going to go nicely in our terrarium. Let's take a look at the cuttings we took from Poe. If I look really closely, there's only one of them that has one root at this point. We're going to need more roots than that if we want to plant the new Poe in some soil. We need to have some roots growing. I don't know if these are going to grow. We may have to take another cutting from Poe. I'm not sure. Let's take a look inside our terrarium. We see a lot of grass. My tomato plants are not doing well in here. They are not thriving in this terrarium. There's one that still looks okay, but the rest don't. Wooly, in the corner there, has not changed. I'm looking for the slug we put in. I don't know where he went. He may have buried himself in the soil. So that is our terrarium. Not terribly exciting. Johnny Appleseed is still not doing very well, not growing back any of the leaves. Our potato plant has grown pretty tall. Keeps going. There's our potato plant. That was from Mr. Potato Man. And the radish keeps growing up toward the light. It has some brand new leaves. Let's measure the radish. Measuring the radish, it measures, when I stretched it out, it measured about 14.5 inches. I can't do it while I film, so I'll just tell you, it measured 14.5 inches. The two biggest surprises today, watch how tall that potato stem has grown. We'll measure that in a moment. And the other surprise for today is the new Johnny Appleseed has grown since last week. There was no sign of it, and now we have a new Johnny Appleseed. The celery is continuing to grow. The lettuce does not look so happy. It does have those roots though, but look, it's turning black. The celery looks like it's doing well though. I will try planting them both and see what happens. And here is our grass. We have a lot of grass. I will measure it all. I finished measuring everything. The grass is now 9 inches at the uncut part and 3.5 inches at the cut part. So that's 1 inch and a half inch that it grew. It's been growing about 1 inch a week. The potato stem is the real surprise. Last week it was 2.5 inches out of the soil. This week it's 16.5 inches. It grew 14 inches in 1 week. The old potato went from 9 inches to 13.5, so it grew 4.5 inches in 1 week. That's 14 inches in 1 week. The radish last week was 14 inches, now it's 14.5, so it's growing. The apple seedling, it is 2 inches from the soil. The celery still has the 8 stems. It doesn't look like it's growing anymore. I'm going to plant the celery, and the lettuce looks bad, but we're going to plant it just in case and see what happens. In the terrarium, it says the slug disappeared. That just means the slug probably went under the soil. That is, and I put planted here. I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to plant those two things, the lettuce and the celery. So that is the results of this week's growth. The lettuce with all of its roots, very slimy. We're going to plant the celery with all of its roots. The roots go down, we know that. They grow down. And we're going to plant our potato. We're going to start with our lettuce. I put all of the roots under the soil. And the same with the celery. I put the roots under the soil. We'll see how this grows now, whether the roots will take hold and grow. The potato, I wanted to show you, and I wanted to see what might happen when we pull this out. Because you remember, what we planted was the little tiny eye, the little tiny node of the potato. So I'm not sure. I'll pop it out and we'll see what we have. These roots are really taking over. These roots are all over the place. Let's see what that potato looks like. We unwrap the roots. Here's that spud, that original node that we planted. And the big stem that is coming out that was 14 and a half inches long was coming out of that node. I don't want to pull it too much because I don't want to pull it apart. But you can see that it all is coming out of that one node. And look at how big that grew. We will plant that under the soil. Okay, all planted. We'll see what happens. We'll measure it next week. It's time to dig up our bio and non-biodegradable things. Let's review what we had last week. Last week we had little pieces broken off of the eggshell. The orange peel was gone, the plastic cap was the same, the paper clip was the same. The newspaper was more ripped and there was a hole in one of the pieces. The styrofoam was the same, the banana peel was gone, and the balloon was the same. Let's take a new page for today and let's dig up our eggshell. Here is our eggshell. You can see, look at this, the brown parts are separating from the sort of the skin of the eggshell. Look at this, it's kind of like a skin with these brown pieces that are coming right off. It is starting to turn back into soil. It's starting to biodegrade. You can see this filmy part of the eggshell, and again, the brown covering, the real shell part, comes right off at this point. It separates very easily. If I turned this around, if I said to you, what is this? Would you know it's an eggshell? I'm not sure I would. It doesn't look like the eggshell that we buried on April 22nd on Earth Day. Let's dig up the plastic cap. The plastic cap looks exactly the same. Nothing has changed. Put that over here and dig up our paper clip. Our paper clip is exactly the same. If I brush the dirt off, it looks exactly the same. Same color, same size, same shape, and it would still hold our papers. We'll put that down and we'll try to find our newspaper. After much searching, I finally found one piece of our newspaper, and it is the T, I believe, from the word party. You can still read it and you can still see that the letter was red. I can't find any other piece of our newspaper though. I did look. I'll put the T down here and I'll look for the styrofoam. Maybe I'll come upon another piece of our newspaper. Here is our styrofoam. Our styrofoam looks exactly the same. Same color, same size, same shape, feels exactly the same. Our styrofoam has not changed. Let's look for our balloon. Here is our balloon. Our balloon looks the same, feels the same. It's the same size, the same shape, the same color. Nothing on our balloon has changed. The eggshell had this skin with the pieces of shell. that skin has a scientific name. It's called a protein membrane, and it's made up of two layers, the outer layer and the inner layer. There it is, you can see it, that protein membrane, that sort of whitish, thin covering, which we couldn't see at first because it was so attached to the shell. But as the shell peels away, we're left with this membrane, this skin. This actually does the same thing that your skin does for you. It protects you from infections. That's what the purpose of this skin is. Look, it stretches a little bit. Oh, and it breaks. This skin of the egg is called the protein membrane. The plastic cap is exactly the same. The paper clip is exactly the same. The styrofoam and the balloon are exactly the same. Same size, same shape, same color. The newspaper, I did the part where it showed the T and it shows that you can still see the color. I will now bury all of my items back into the soil. While I was burying everything, I found another piece of the newspaper. You can still see the P from party. I will put that back under the soil as well. Bury it up, and now we're all buried back up and ready for next week. Oh, piece of balloon, gotta bury it. We're all ready for next week. Let's close the top and say goodbye, biodegradable and non-biodegradable items. See you next week. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I hope you enjoyed Science from My Backyard. Have a great day.